Greetings, Rally, this is Aridif, that is Aridif, and this is Expelled. We understand you have many queries for this evening, but before diving in to those queries, there are two things in which we wish to express. The first thing, above and beyond all things expressed within this evening, to know, to feel, and perceive that you are loved is in the utmost importance in our perspective. Secondly, it is within and in our greatest excitement to co-create with you in this moment all the reflections that you are creating by understanding new ideas. It gives us the opportunity to reflect the parts of our own energy that we have yet to explore and understand fully. For this we congratulate you, and for this we thank you. You may begin your queries at your leisure.
Thank you, Aridif. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you this way. I've been waiting for quite some time ever since I started listening to Rob's YouTube channel. I've been just really excited, and it's pretty awesome that the time has finally come.
Yes, we feel that excitement, and it is perpetuated and given back to in that same fashion.
I'm going to start with the topic of healing. Why is it that when we, let's say, scrape, fracture, or break a body part of ours, that our innate response is to, repair the damage? But if something like a hand or foot or one of our limbs are severed, there's not an innate response in our body to grow it back.
Yes, first of all, the physical human structure is one of an archetype, the natural construct of the Earth collective consciousness, and that archetype is co-created as a part of the entirety of the Earth collective. Before the very first DNA manipulation took place, all physical structures within the Earth, co-created and collective consciousness, were built to be born and to die, to grow, to expand, and then to dissipate. That is the most generalized construct. Then going into categories, what you would call genuses, within the tree of your Latin definition of different beings, going into that construct specifically into the hominid genus. That energy is one of the bipedal ape style of variety. Within that specific archetype of physical bodies, the reproduction of cells that are from such large constructs of perhaps trauma or releasing the physical part of that body altogether are not rebuilt, such as your salamanders. When the tail is removed, it does regenerate and grow a new portion, because you are put in that specific energy, because that is where your consciousness dictated that you go. You are part of that rule. Now, your first DNA manipulation was creating a difference, a bending of that version. And several DNA manipulations later, there were versions of humans who could reproduce small portions of their physical body, such as the tip of a finger, the tip of the tongue, a cut off of the ear. All of those things were able to reproduce in a specific order, but another manipulation was made and it took away that ability. So you have all of the different manipulations that have occurred, and the finalized product is more or less the same construct as the original, at least in the archetype variety, with the only difference being the manipulation of the genes that create multi-dimensionality. As you start going into your fourth density journey, when you start growing into the mid to high fourth density, you will start tapping into the energies of healing on larger scales. Perhaps not regrowing limbs quite yet, but rebuilding those deep gashes, the breakages of bones, and doing that quickly and by yourself without needs of medicine, or perhaps utilizing technology, but utilizing technology that is an expansion of your consciousness already. Then as you grow into the fifth density, after the fourth density construct, that is where the full regeneration processes can occur and start to grow into rebuilding of your physical body. By the end of your fifth density journey, death will only be created when you desire to fully leave your physical body. There will be no egregious energy or injuries that can occur to you that will remove you from your physical body unless it is desired for you to experience to leave your physical body in that specific way. It is the evolution of consciousness, the level and step that you are within in this moment, but also the construct of the agreement of the Earth Collective altogether that creates this conundrum for you.
So it wouldn't be possible, or would it, for somebody alive today to develop that type of consciousness to be able to do something like that?
Yes, as you are aware, consciousness has no limitations. There are only the limitations of what you have agreed upon. For instance, you have agreed to be in Earth. You have agreed to be a part of that third to fourth density exchange of consciousness. But because you are multidimensional, because you have physical bodies in all densities, if you were to tap into your sixth density consciousness, if you were to go, just as you do most evenings in your dream state, into your high fifth or sixth density, you would be able to there. But coming down into your physical body, it would be almost impossible at this period. We would say that less than 0.0001% of all humans that are alive in this moment would have less than a 5% probability of that occurring for them. And only those who work their entire life basing new belief systems, also teaching themselves how to create the concentrated version of consciousness that would be needed for this to occur within their third to fourth density physical bodies.
Okay. Funny question. I have 2 teeth on either side of my front teeth. They never there was never adult teeth that developed there. I had those baby teeth pulled when I was younger. Do you know why something like that would occur? Why I did never grow those 2 teeth there?
Yes, when something like this occurs, it is much as Rob's own son. It is something that is physically occurring as an agreement portion. Now, as funny as this might sound back to you, there are reasons for this to occur. Now, we cannot tap into those specific reasons as you are exploring this energy with a great deal of haze around this concept. Much of this is about your own confusion in the co-created process. But as we go deeper into that layers of consciousness where the physical body occurs and creates, we can see that there are many different reasons and possibilities that this did occur. If you were to work from the level of knowing that certain aspects of your physical appearance can create a version of you feeling either very good about yourself or negative about yourself in your physical appearance, then removing attributes that are normally considered normal, average, or attractive by other entities, it will help allow the development of your own perspectives over the perspective of others. Yet, in the reverse angle of the same construct, it can also give you negative constructs where it pushes against that sense of self within your own construct. And at this period, you would have to push back. You would have to learn how to mold your own thought processes in to the releasing of that traumatic feeling or that judgment of others, hurting your own internal energy. So simple reasons from there all the way to higher reasons, reasons that only affect you in your higher dimensionality. It can be, and in that essence, focusing on what has changed in your life from this occurring, and what would your life be different if you were to not have had those missing. Then you will be able to try to work out the differences in vibrational frequency and possibilities within yourself.
The past week, maybe week and a half, I believe, I've had this twitching on my top eyelid on my left eye. I'm wondering if you could kind of look in and see what that would maybe be all about.
Yes, of course. As you are aware, when we look at your energy, there are so many different layers for different parts of your experience. One of those energies is the physical construct, and we are able to see components of the energetic nature of the physical body, but not the physical body itself, unless we were to come into your physical body to explore more deeply. And even at that part, only those parts that you give permission, we can perceive. What we can tell you from the energy of your physical body, and what we can tell you about your overall energy, is that there are 3 specific reasons that this is occurring. Now, we understand most humans look at that one construct idea, one reason for one thing, but as you have become aware more and more, there are always multiplicities of possibilities, probabilities, and reasons at hand that create these varieties of experiences. So with your eye twitching, one of the energies is the lowering construct of magnesium in your physical body. If you were to add magnesium supplements, even in small amounts, and saturate your physical body with water, this would create a lessening from the physical standpoint alone. But the 2 other points are both energetic. One of them is that in your throat chakra, you have been working out a great deal more of that energy. You have been learning to speak out more so than you have before, even though at times you feel retracted in your throat chakra, not being able to say certain things to certain people and certain experiences. You are still giving more energy to growing and expanding that throat chakra region. That throat chakra, having more energy, also gives more energy to the third eye, which is directly connecting to your physical eyes. As you are going through this, you have that energy also, the left and right, masculine, feminine, dark, light, happy, negative, whatever duality that you desire. So in your left side is a representation of the masculine energy for you. And because you are flowing through the idea of bringing forward those energies to the throat chakra and to the third eye, and utilizing better balances between your masculine and feminine energy, all 3 of those things are co-creating the co-creation with the physical attributes of the lack of magnesium and the lack of water within your system. So all 3 of those play together. Controlling the energy of your physical body will help slow down. But once you work on totally redefining your masculine and feminine energies as you feel better balances with both, and as you bring more energy into your third eye and continue working on your throat, that will settle down.
Thanks, Aridif.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that really does kind of hit home with me, because I have had a lot of problems throughout the last few years, and I've really been trying to, be more outspoken with people and say what I mean at certain times. That has been a challenge for me.
Yes, but what we perceive is you have grown and expanded in this area. Although we know that telling you about this will not give you 100% comfort in seeing your own expansion, we can say that by sharing this, at least we hope that you give yourself a pat on the back of your third chakra. That will help that sense of self of knowing the exploration of expansion has paid off for you.
All right. When you look at my potentials at where I'm at in life right now, in this current incarnation, what, in your perception, am I most fit for making my life mission? The things that I've really realized that I'm most attracted to so far right now in my life are health and fitness, creating music, helping people strengthen their mindsets, and I'm also really passionate about alternative forms of energy, such as beyond solar, beyond wind, more like magnetics and all that. So those are the kind of things that I'm really into. I don't know if I should be going towards one of them or finding out how to fit all of them into my life at the same proportion.
Yes, first of all, we would express to you that as per your life experience, your goals, your optimum path, as you are aware, excitement, action, and beliefs dictate all of those things. Now you have your basis around all of these different energies, and we perceive that you have great probabilities if you were to attach yourself to one of those or two of those together, high probabilities of it occurring. What we can tell you also is that you do not have to just choose one. As we've expressed, there are possibilities and probabilities to work with your hat in all of those rings. So by going into those constructs, the best way to tie them together is to look at what area fits all of those things. Now, when you look at fitness, when you look at positive mindset, when you look at the construct of teaching and motivating others, all of those things can be fitted nice and neatly all in one area. You can work with entities one-on-one or groups and touch all the basis and necessities of their life experience. But the odd man out, if you will, is the construct of your free or lesser degraded energies in the process of going beyond green energy. By going into that construct, it requires a bit of different energy. With the physical bodies and helping those in their physical journey and their mental and emotional journey, all of these energies takes a very high level of attracting all of your bodies that are occurring. And you have thousands of energy bodies, but the main bodies are the mental, emotional, physical, and the auric field and chakra system. So just those bodies alone, if you were to define every sub-body into those basic bodies, the majority of the three that require connecting with others, teaching and bettering their lives, and one-on-one or groups requires the majority of those bodies. But working in that energy field, it would require, of course, your physical body and, of course, your mental body, the emotional body, auric field, and the chakra systems. All could be added into those at different proportions, but they are not mandatory for that energy. So in a way, that is one area that would show least resistance for you, because it does not require all portions of your energy to succeed in a very high way with this. But in the other cases, you must activate all of your bodies with great excitement and co-create all of yourself into those areas. Both of those energies also placing different reward systems with you. By helping an energy, you are helping the entire Earth collective and having the probability to change the foundation of the way that your Earth perceives energy. Working with the other vibration, it can be feeling less rewarding in the amounts of lives touched if you are looking at it in that way. But what we can tell you, even if you only work with 10,000 entities, from the time you start working full-time with those beings till you pass out of your physical body and die, those tens of thousands of beings are vibrationally teaching tens of thousands of entities around them that are linked into their same grid line system. And either way, when you look at the very foundation, you are helping the entire Earth collective in one form or another. So what we suggest is weigh those energies out within your own mind. What we can tell you from our own perspective, the energy is harder to break into from the collective resistance area. There are many entities who do not desire those who have free energy or less resistant styles of energy to share that. There is no money to be made from their perspective. So this can cause a great deal of resistance for the physical, mental, and emotional health of yourself. It is a fighting battle that could occur. The other portions, there are resistances in different ways. So balancing out those energies, we would say that in your own addressing of the energy itself, there are many probabilities you can be successful and have success. But that energy of changing the entire outlook of the world is a lower percentage in probabilities than working in the other three groups put together. That you will be able to reach out to more people on higher percentages. But the more that you place excitement in the sharing of energy, the time invested, etc., the more likely that that low probability will grow to an exponentially higher number.
Okay. Are you familiar with the idea of cryptocurrency?
Yes, of course.
Do you see this ever replacing our physical currency?
Yes, of course. It is already in some way starting to. Not in your marketplace, not in your stock exchange region, and not in your country's decision for currency, but in the minds and hearts of even those that are most skeptical. They understand innately that in order to achieve a lesser resistant system of finances, that this is one component that can start into a new branch of more experiences, of less resistant currencies even still. The only problem with this energy of growing is the same that your free energy idea would. There are many entities who do not wish for the currencies that they create to not be worth anything. That is why they place great amounts of time, energy, and even finances to push against this construct. What we can tell you is that in 150 years, in all of the probabilities that we perceive, there are very few percentages of the world that are remaining with similar ideals of currency that exist in your world today, including that of even some versions of cryptocurrency being no longer utilized. The systems that are in the highest probability of occurring after 150 years are very similar to the cryptocurrency, but it is done within a clouded area. Such as your technology goes into the cloud and reads information, stores videos and pictures. The idea that the energy would be stored within a cloud where the main system that holds all the information is public domain. Every human being can go in and look and perceive where this currency is coming from. But all of those are also backed with the trust of all humans within the world. That is at the highest probability of over 36% of being the dominant probability of the Earth collective. And even after this occurs, even after this simple currency occurs where you are able to put your finger upon a technology screen and buy whatever it is you need or to receive physically, there will still be pockets and corners of the Earth collective that will do something different. Old cryptocurrencies, the tradings of food, the tradings of other areas such as vegetables and fruits, etc. So it will be greatly dependent upon that energy, but the cryptocurrency itself is what starts shifting the vibration of the overall collective consciousness for all of the entities to perceive that the financial industry and paper money no longer needs to be dominant upon the planet, and it still can work with the trust of those who wish to use it.
Okay. I've heard explanations of how animals do not reincarnate unless they develop a connection with a human being so that they can come back and be with them again. Is there truth to that?
In our perspective, this is not true at all. The second dynasty beings reincarnate whether or not they desire to co-create with other human beings. The soul essence itself only desires experience. So if an animal, an entity such as a dog or a cat, a domesticated version of an animal, were to appear in the midst of the jungle with no humans around for hundreds of miles, would that entity not still desire more experience after leaving its physical body? Of course it would. Now, there is truth to this construct in fractalized entities, and all consciousness, as you are aware, is fractalized. So what we mean and how we define this specifically is when a human being comes from the higher dimension, such as the fourth, fifth, or sixth density, and incarnates as a human, their overall amount of consciousness is more than the physical humans can carry within their physical body. So often, they will place themselves in multiple physical lifetimes at once, such as a starseed who is sixth density can have 20 simultaneous lives of a physical human being at one time. But fourth density and fifth density often place them throughout linear time so that they are able to experience multiple time periods in your Earth collective, and often so that they do not feel homesick, so that there is a part of the Earth that feels natural and co-created with him. They will produce an animal or an avatar, such as a domesticated cat or a domesticated dog, or even those that are monkeys or birds that are wild but still live within the vicinity of humans. This occurs very frequently with those that are called starseeds, or those who come into experiences of the Earth Collective for a partial incarnation cycle. When that occurs, then your statement is quite true. That fractal of consciousness will only return itself as a similar animal or another second density being when there is a physical human presence to co-create with.
All right. So, have any of my animals, or maybe the cats that I have now, have they been with me before in previous animals in this lifetime?
Yes, we are perceiving all of the entities around. One moment. The entities that you have with you in this moment have been with you in other incarnations, and this is a very natural cycle. There is only one entity that we perceive that is within your life now that is an iteration of a previous incarnation in this lifetime for yourself. So it existed as another entity or animal within your younger years of growing up, and now has shown itself yet again. This does occur, and sometimes it can be a frequent occurrence for human collective, but it is more odd or less probable for many humans to experience this, as many humans think they are experiencing this. So this is a bit of a rarity, but it does occur.
Okay, cool. So, as part of my incarnation cycle, I've heard that quite often that we come back as an incarnation down our family line or our family trees. If that applies to me, which ancestor of my most recent family line was I before this incarnation that I am now? How long ago?
Yes, of course. When you are looking at the construct of the energy of your family lineage, yes, you have been iterating throughout your family lineage. What we perceive is that within the energy of your physical father's side, back within the areas that you would call approximately late 1400, in the Central European area, there was an incarnation. That area is what you would call the area between France and Germany in this moment. That area was one portion of the construct of your family lineage. Now, there are other energies that link you to that family iteration, but you often occur within the longer journeys of that energy. You have not stuck with your family tree exclusively, as some humans do wish to do, but you have at least 12 iterations in your today's family lineage that we are able to perceive. The closest is the region that we have just expressed and the time period that we have just expressed. So what we are saying is the entire energy that is you in this moment, the version of yourself that you perceive, and the higher self together, after leaving the physical body, rejoin that part of yourself and then desire to reincarnate. One of the fractals of consciousness that you yourself as the entire being, your lower fractal and higher, desired to go within this family tree at that lifetime and that period. So by going into that experience, the actual fractal that is you was partially implanted into that incarnation. Now, when you go into a physical body, it is very dependent upon what portion of your overall consciousness goes into that physical body. For example, in this incarnation, you have approximately 17% of all of your overall entity that is within your lower fractal consciousness and your physical body. Out of that 17%, only 30% of the 17% is the same portion of the overall percentage that was present in that lifetime, meaning that in the other experience, only a small fractal of what you are now was implanted in that. The rest was filled up, only at 12% overall, but the rest of the consciousness that was present was a different portion of your higher self in this moment. Now, to explain this in the most simple way, if you are to take 1 gallon of liquid water and you are to pour 1 cup, you will still have several cups left of water. Now pour those in different cups. Let us say 5 more cups, so you have a total of 6. If you were to take half of 1 cup out of the 6 and pour it into a 7th cup, and 1/10 into another, and 1/16 of another into that 7th cup, you will have a mixture of those energies. Those glasses represent the lower fractal consciousness. The gallon represents the overall entity, and the higher self represents what is left in the cup, or the gallon of liquid after pouring out the lower fractal energies. So you are mixing and meshing the parts of your overall consciousness that you desire to incarnate with in each incarnation. That is why some incarnations that you consider your past lives are much more aligned with the version of you that you are now, when other lifetimes are very different, because less of the part that is you now was present in that lifetime, but was filled with other parts of your higher self, if this makes sense to you.
It's a good way of explaining it, yeah.
Yes.
So here's a good question. Ever since I was little, I've been very, very fearful of deep water that I could not see the bottom of. I remember going tubing with my family down a river, and I was just so afraid because I could not see the bottom. I was afraid that something like a rock or some weeds or some animal might touch my foot. I've just always been afraid of water that I can't see the bottom of. Did I have a bad experience connected, in previous lives, previous incarnations?
Yes, of course. Now, this is not always the case with those sensible, unrational fears that humans believe they have. Most of the time, those unrational or irrational fears that you think you have are not often caused by previous incarnations. But in your experience, we perceive over 13 incarnations where you had died via water, via drowning, via at sea. Some of these are ship crashes, others are accidental swimming, others are simply being drowned as a form of torture. And out of all of those incarnations, they are very plain and very clear to see. Now, you understand those previous incarnations cannot dictate what happens in your life in this moment. But because the first time you felt a fear as you were a very, very young child, that was triggered from the trauma that is stored in your DNA from your family lineage, once that was triggered, it instantly linked back to those previous incarnations where similar themes occurred. After that occurred, those lifetimes became more prevalent. That is why they are so clear and easy to see. So it is both a mixture. Once you connect so strongly to those previous incarnations, the feeding of energy goes both ways. It is not just the past lives coming into this incarnation to cause or produce fear. It is also the other way around. Your previous incarnations feeling either positive or negative attributes of this incarnation also. So that first initial triggering created the experience to tie in to those traumatic experiences and lives where water was an issue.
Okay. With a lot of mind practice and focus, are human beings able to move physical objects without touching them?
Yes, there are already a small percentage of humans who have the capacity to do this. As you understood, your biblical historical figures, those that were great gurus, those who were great teachers, even those who were religious, iconic beings, these entities all represented a percentage of the possibility, probability, and the entire capacity of what your human consciousness could do at its maximum capacity, such as the entity that most humans call Jesus Christ. This entity performed miracles. This entity was able to do extraordinary things with his own consciousness and his own manifestation quality. That was a representation of the entire collective to show you what the fourth density energy had the capacity to do. And humans in the third density can tap into that fourth density. Now you are going through third to fourth density. This means that you are able to tap up into this fifth density energy if you start living more so in your fourth density lifestyle. By living in your fourth density, it gives you already a great jump towards telekinesis, but implementing the higher jumping, releasing your resistance within your consciousness, focusing, practicing, and re-energizing that energy of your higher self connection, that will help co-create the experience to open telekinesis, but also telepathy, also manifestation in a more instantaneous way. All of those things that are perceived as fourth density powers, as most humans call this, are able to be used and iterated in this moment if your energy is there, if you are open, if you let go of the resistance, and if you line into your beliefs and energetic connection.
Okay, so if it was somebody's goal to just get good at moving objects without touching them, how would they start going about it? How would they start practicing it and getting their mind ready for it? Let's say they have an object on the table in front of them, a pen or a phone charger or a phone or something like that. What kind of steps would they need to take in order to accomplish the goal of being able to move the objects?
Yes, of course. First, it is just as all manifestations are. If you wish to win the lottery, if you wish to gain access to a better sex life, if you wish to gain better grades at school, whatever it is you desire, what is the first step of manifesting? It is to place yourself in the vibration of that energy that already exists. This means the very first step is place your energy as if you are already doing this. Start reading, start listening, start watching all of the information that is possible to receive the information about those who have already expressed that they have been able to do this. So learn through the vibration of those that have already accomplished. That is your first step. This includes your mental body and emotional body being trained into the fact that you are more than capable of doing this, that you are already doing it, that you are already a part of that creation. Secondly, as you go through, you must start looking deeply and advising yourself each time that a thought with resistance comes into your experience. We have always suggested the 10-step belief system process. This tool is one that is better than none other that we have perceived when it comes to all things manifestational. This means that you will utilize this tool to address all of the resistant thought processes, to see the beliefs behind that resistance, and to help you create a better action mechanism upon those things that you need to create. That is the overall flow of energy. Now, going into specifics, what is the telekinesis construct? This is a multiple variant depending upon your own connection. Some entities utilize the telekinetic energy with literally bringing their own vibration to the same construct of what they are moving, so that they are vibrationally linked. Now, most humans would call this something similar to superimposition or superdisposition of the energies. And once you perceive that you are connected to that energy, once you perceive that you are energetically and atomically linked with that object, then you are able to move it by moving your own thought, by moving your own vibration, by moving your own physical body. That connection process is one that is most difficult out of all of the options, but it can be utilized in that way. Secondly, most humans believe that telekinesis must be a move with your mind, but what is your mind in general? Your mind can be technology, an extension of your own thought processes turned into technology. So by moving an object or item with your mind means that you can utilize this technology to assist you in that manifestation. This means that you would work with zero-point energies, sound vibrations, electromagnetic energy, finding the resonance tone between yourself and the object, and utilizing technology. Now, this technology can be both internal and external. If it is internal and external, it would be a co-creation of utilizing either the thought processes that allow to find the correct vibration and letting the mechanics of the technology do the rest, or vice versa, to find the energy through your technology and let your mind do the rest. Now, we understand this one is a bit more difficult from the human perspective, but in percentages and probabilities, more humans are able to utilize the technological because the belief systems that they hold, both in their own individual minds, but also in the entirety of the collective, are extremely resistant to the ideal of moving items with your mind alone. So the technology is less, perhaps as you would see it, resistant or less intrusive to the ideal of breaking the belief systems of multiple beings around you. You are not responsible for others' belief systems, nor are they dictating yours. But when you go into an experience like this, automatically and subconsciously, you will receive the resistance from the collective around you because you are playing by the rules of the Earth Collective. This is why we mention the technological, although it is not fundamentally similar to the ideals of the telekinesis that most humans would define as such. But these are the main two categories, and the ways to go through those are literally in this. Vibrationally learning about your own self, and then the item that you desire to move is the third. Being so intimately aware of your own physical body, mental body, your energetic bodies as your chakra, auric field, etc. All of those energies, knowing them inside and out, fundamentally from the top to the bottom, A to Z, and queuing up all of the things that you desire to work with physically, such as a basketball or a cue ball. Any of those energies, come to know them intimately, come to know all things about them, their composition, the weight, the mass, the density of that energy. And when you understand and spend time with that energy, you can create a bond alone with the mind dictating where that is placed.
There's a lot of different theories that we have on how the pyramids were really built and what their purpose is. First, how were they built and what was their main purpose? Egypt specifically.
Yes, in Giza.
Yes.
Yes, in this energy, the entities that are known as the human beings did work with the pyramid constructs. Many humans believe it was either one or the other, but human beings were the ones who were responsible for the building of the pyramids themselves, but were instructed and assisted by beings who are known as extra-dimensional, extraterrestrials, specifically more so the second wave of Anunnaki beings that came into the Earth Collective. Now, there are multiple timelines, multiple versions of realities, but in this specific energy, the one energy that we are both focused upon in the common reality and energy of the co-created Earth Collective, that energy was the creation of second wave Anunnaki and humans. And the reason for this was multitudes of energies. First of all, the bringing forward of the electromagnetic energy that goes through your ley lines and creates the etheric grid around the entire Earth Collective. This is a tool that magnifies that energy. Humans would utilize this as a gift the Anunnaki desired for humans to start growing and experiencing expansion. Now, think of the very first Anunnaki experience. They come into the Earth Collective against the free will, perceivably against the free will of human collective, change their DNA and then leave them after they have used them for their purpose. But after several hundreds of thousands of years, come back into the Earth Collective to help fix that mistake, to help give back to the humans that they had took from. So, in that second wave of the Anunnakis, giving them both internal and external technology was important. There were assistances from those that are called the Elohim in certain areas of the project, both consciously and with the entity representatives of the Anunnaki. Both of those entities that worked with humans allowed them to utilize that for the bringing down of the consciousness, but the utilization of their own was to increase energy of communications. They are still utilizing what you would call fourth density technology, and although they are vibrationally higher and dropping down into avatars in the way that they could in that moment, these entities still required heavily leaning upon technology in order to co-create. They would utilize this to enhance the versions of energy from communications. Think about your own construct of a telephone pole, or better yet, the antennas that are created for the cellular telephones. These pyramids would draw down the electromagnetic energy from the Earth Collective and increase it, magnify it to an amplified version of what is already there. So in that energy, collecting all of that, they would utilize their internal and external technology to create wider forms of communication. At this period, the Anunnaki entities were far, far away from where they once resided, and they are not fully developed in the telepathic communication forms, nor were they fully developed in the ability to co-create internal technology. The Elohim showed these Anunnaki different versions of their own internal technology, which was much higher than their own. So they would utilize that pyramid also to increase the versions of their internal technology. There are many different races who came afterwards and utilized it for various reasons. One of them was for energy sources, such as your solar panels. They would utilize it as a way to bring in solar energy and chemical energy to produce high forms of energy for their own technology. Other races would utilize it for storage places of their technology and their beings that were on the ship until they left the planet. During the Indian Wars, the Indian and extraterrestrial wars that are written about in the ancient texts of the Hindu religion, there are multitudes of races that are coming in and out of the Earth Collective. All of them utilized pyramids both in Giza and worldwide for different reasons. Some of them just for that resting place, others for technology, and others for spiritual constructs of amplifying their own energy in ways that even our own race does not perceive or understand. But literally, the pyramids, especially those that are in Giza, have been utilized for so many different things by so many different races.
All right. What about the head figures on Easter Island? What were those about?
Yes, those entities that lived upon that Easter Island, the indigenous entities, utilized their own co-creation with extraterrestrial beings, extra-dimensional beings. Those headstones were utilization of the sound barrier technology being created, much as those that the Anunnaki shared with the Egyptian beings to show them zero-point gravity and lifting. They showed them how to use sound vibrations to carve into stones. They utilized these great gifts, these great statues of the heads, of the faces, of the bodies, of these entities that were representative of the beings that they were creating with. The entities that are on the statues do not look exactly as the entities appeared, But the beings who did come into that Easter Island to co-create were a mixture of a very short humanoid and a grey hybrid. Those entities were very unique in their look, and the picturesque energy of what those statues appeared as were the indigenous tribes trying to show their own support and their own, perhaps as you would see it, gift to those entities as a representation to teach their own ancestors how they were able to gain access to inner understanding and understanding about the larger world. Unfortunately, in that specific area and in that specific construct, when it comes to understanding the history of that area, after only a handful of generations after the visitations occurred, there was a great illness that occurred, a manifestation of the energy in the collective that wiped out a great percentage of those that inhabited and those in a neighboring island that since has been sunken. Those energies all were co-creators, and after this energy, so much went into teaching the very basic skills to the new and healthy children, and burying those that are older and dead with knowledge, that the knowledge and history was not verbally continuously passed down.
Can you tell me about the people on North Sentinel Island?
Yes, we are not aware where this is geographically.
I don't exactly remember, but they don't allow any contact from humans outside of their island, and if they do try to enter, they try to kill them.
Yes, if we are perceiving the area and where you are speaking of, it is outside of the coast of India. As you understand, we draw the history, we draw the understanding of the entirety Earth Collective from two sources. First, utilizing Rob's own vibration as, perhaps as you would see it, a translator of understanding of energies to words. And secondly, we tap into the Earth energy, and historically from Rob's own perspective and our own experiences. If it is the island that you are speaking of that Rob is aware of, then that energy is a co-creation of a multiple generation of energies that stored trauma from an experience several hundred years previously. These entities who inhabited this island were visited by entities who carried guns. These entities came upon that island, shot many of the entities there with their guns, and only bows and arrows were had by the indigenous beings. So after that exchange happened, the technology of those entities showing a great deal more power and more fighting capacity killed a great deal more of the indigenous beings than those that traveled there. After this occurred, those entities left, except for those bodies of those beings who attacked that were still upon the island after killing them. Those dead bodies spread disease. Those diseases are parts of the other world that they were not used to. Small viruses and bugs, normally easily able to be overcome, but in that time period, because of the world being so feeling of the large energy, of not having capacity to connect with others, this was a brand new entertainment of this energy to their own system. After that death occurred, that trauma was stored energetically within them, and a verbal telling continued to be told that the strange gods that carried silver robes or shining metallic robes came and killed our family, and we fought back to the gods and defeated them. But if we ever let any other strangers within our land, the gods will give the wrath as they did so many years ago to our ancestors. This is what causes the fear within this area. Now, the utilization of this contained region also paves way for those that have a great deal of financial resources, power, and energy to utilize their own uninterrupted and unperceived base deep under the water area around this region. This also gives those entities a great access to that part of the world and the ability to do many things that are unseen by eyes because of the quarantine itself And this energy, although feels nefarious or perhaps feels nasty or bad, in our perspective, as you are aware, through hearing our words many times, this is not something in our perspective that, in our own words, you can or should fear. It is something that is only a natural part of the experience of being able to hide in plain sight because of this tragedy that did occur.
Going back to you were talking about how I was a little bit magnesium deficient. Are there any other main minerals or vitamins that you can look into me and see that I may be deficient in also?
Now, with the energy of the twitching nature of the eye and the co-creation of the energy around, it is why we were able to extract the magnesium water construct. The only thing that we can tell you that is within the overall system and energy of yourself, besides the version of magnesium, is the energy of potassium. That energy also can be a lower energy. Probabilities of that being lower energy within your body are fairly high due to the way that your energy in third chakra and second chakra are aligned. You could receive more of this and it would be beneficial to you.
I've had this about in the middle of my back on the right side. If you look in, can you see? I think I have something dislocated, maybe some scar tissue built up from it, but it gives me problems sometimes. Sometimes I get a tingling sensation.
Yes, and how far exactly is this from the middle of your spine to the shoulder blades? How would you refer to this in distance?
I would say maybe about 12 inches down, a foot or so.
Yes, this area in the energy is again going into that third chakra region. This energy, as you have perceived previously, does carry bits of resistances. The way that you have perceived yourself, the way that you have looked at yourself, this is very natural. All humans go through third chakra, second chakra, and heart chakra issues. It is almost a given that all entities that we bump into or connect with have at least small amounts of resistances within those areas. Going between your heart and third chakra, there's a bit of resistance that creates an overflow of the energy in your third chakras. That overflow goes into the sub chakra between your third and second and creates a spilling of energy. That is the energetic reason for the physical manifestation of this energy. Now, what it is physically, we are not able to perceive, but we know that within all energies, around all human constructs, that once you remove the emotional and energetic resistance, that the physical body will clear up and heal. Not necessarily immediately, but just as dropping a stone in a pond. The larger the stone you drop, the higher the ripples, the quicker the momentum moves. So if you remove a great deal of resistance at once, it is akin to dropping a large stone in the pond. When you are removing small parts at a time, it is as if you are throwing small pebbles in every few hours. So what we suggest is utilize also the 10-step belief system process within the examination of your heart chakra, third chakra, second chakra, but also look at the masculine and feminine energy. These energies within your second chakra. Look at how you perceive yourself as a masculine being and all the fears of being perceived as a feminine being. By carrying all of those energies in just sitting down and being honestly truthful with yourself and aligning yourself without fear, without a lack of connection to your energies within your system, going through all of the energies separately, look at these ideas, examine them. Working with the 10-step process will help give you those tools and refocuses of thought processes that can help reverse that process and eliminate that energy within pain and tingling sensations.
Was there a video or an audio on the 10-step belief process? I know that may take a long time if I were to ask you to explain that right now.
Yes, of course. If you are to speak with Rob immediately after we have disconnected, he will show you that way.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
So I also have had some pain in my elbow, and that, now that I think about it, it's about the same length down as that pain I get sometimes in my back. Is that completely related?
No, in fact, it is not related directly to that energy. This has to do with the resistance in your heart chakra. Now, we understand this would not be, perhaps this is counterintuitive to you, as you perceive the area and where those two injuries are similar, but the heart chakra extends into your arms all the way down, including your elbow. The resistance in your heart chakra is quite simple, and it is easy to figure out, and it is easy to start removing resistance if this is what you truly desire. The examination of how you perceive yourself is part of the third chakra, but the amount of love and acceptance that you give yourself is heart chakra and third chakra energy. That can be heightened, as all humans are able to heighten and still increase their experience upon their lifetime. But there are many walls that have been created around the heart chakra initially as it pertains with other entities. You have had relationships that have taught you to be wary of others. You have had relationships where those that you are most intimate with and that you are most vulnerable with hurt you the worst. So in that immediate repercussion and the proportionalized size of the reaction and interaction with those entities have helped you create layers of walls. The first layer is fairly easy to overcome. If you like someone and you feel as if they are decent and honest people, they are able to pass through the door within the first set of walls. But the further you go through many of those walls, the higher they are, the more guarded they are. The last three layers of your heart walls are those that hold the most resistance. Those are the ones who you allow into your experience as great lovers, sexual partners, and family members. There are levels of pain that they can cause to you that create such a fear, both consciously and subconsciously, that it does allow you to put distance between yourself and those entities, especially in time periods where it is counterintuitive to do so, when you are building trust, when you are building co-created experiences that bond you. Then you start putting up that resistance in areas. Allowing yourself to overcome this will also help flow with the heart chakra, which will help indeed with every other chakra available, but it will also help specifically the elbow energy and the third chakra very deeply.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Speaking of the heart chakra and love, do you see any female partner with me in my near future at all?
We see that it is a probability that you have these partners that will be an interest to and love and connected from your heart to their heart. We see probabilities of this occurring with multiple different entities. Two of these entities you are already aware of, one of these entities who are not aware. All three of these are within a 9 to 12 month period and have probabilities ranging from 12% to 42%. These entities that you are aware of are in the construct of your life as people who you are barely aware of, people who you are around more than you are not, but you do not have deep connections. The other entity that is yet to come into your experience, this entity has a low probability also. While one of the entities you know has the 12, the other in the higher percentages, this entity is 23 to 26% of probabilities of connecting. All of those energies are probabilities mostly depending upon your own desire to connect with other entities and energies. There are desires within you now to have someone to share your experiences with, someone to co-create with you specifically, but those heart chakra resistances make it difficult for you to take the first steps. There are interests that you have had previously that you were not able to engage because of those same fears. You were not comfortable speaking to them. Your throat chakra would not activate. The walls around the first few layers of your heart and the deeper layers of your heart prevented that creation. What we suggest is practice the energy of speaking your truth. And we do not mean that you must go around shouting whatever comes into your mind, although you can do this if you desire. What we are saying more specifically is that as you start engaging with entities that you are finding as friends, that you are finding as acquaintances, workmates, etc., go to them and express to them one thing that you love about your experience with them. Co-worker, you are very funny. I like the way that you sing at break time. The other person also. Next person, continue. Then you go in the next day. Telling them something positive is fairly easy, but the next day, express to them something that does not resonate with you about them. Do not place it in, perhaps as you would say, a mean-spirited energy, but say, I really like you as a person. I enjoy the energy with you, but there is this one thing that I do not understand. I wish you to help illuminate this construct. Something in similar fashion, but more human version of saying it. If you express that to that entity, you'll notice different reactions. Those reactions will be based on your own internal perspective of sharing the energy. If you are afraid to confront them about the energy, they will have a worse reaction. If you are very at ease, it will have a better reaction. When you co-create those simple energies, then you are able to start confronting those romantic interests more easily because it will be practiced upon. Then it will be considerably easier to open the doors of the heart chakra. So if you are able to practice that energy, the percentages go higher, the amounts of entities probable become much higher. In that 9 to 12 month region that we express with the three entities, all three of those entities represent not just a short sexual engagement, but it represents at least 1 year or longer possible and probable relationships, ones that can create an experience for you to have new, something new, an experience new, energetically new to you.
Thank you, Aridif.
Yes, of course.
Funny question. What's the main reason that someone can go bald? Their hair on their head.
Yes, of course. This can be literally a multitude of reasons. The majority of humans who go through the balding process are working with their own allowances from genetic coding, meaning that their physical bodies are only reacting to the DNA encoding within them. Now, this activates due to the nature of their own belief systems that allow those portions to activate. The mental processes within their own mind and their own focus upon the possibilities and probabilities of going bald only increase that energy. If someone expresses in their own life with a thought process that is similar to this, I do not care truly what happens to my own head, I am excited that I have hair in this moment. And if they are able to live in that moment with true excitement for the hair that they have, they are less likely to turn on that switch and activate that genetic component within their DNA process. So, yes, it is physical. Yes, it is genealogical. Yes, it is implemented within their DNA, but it is also an energetic process. It is also a thought process, belief process, and vibrational experience process.
I'm going to talk about music for a moment because that's one of my passions.
Yes, of course.
I've been, over the last 3 years, I've come across this thing on the internet about our note of A being in 440 hertz and 432 hertz, and about how 432 hertz is supposedly a more natural vibration to a human sound. Is there any truth to this?
Yes, of course. That is in tune more so with the natural vibration of the earth, but also when you look at the harmonics themselves, as you shift through the frequencies, Let us say, for instance, going to that 432 versus 440. The 440 energy, after you go several octaves higher, will start vibrating at a distorted tone. When you go high enough octavely, it will start to distort, while 432 can also distort, but the amount of octaves is exponentially higher. What this means is that when you work with any vibrational harmonic frequency, when you go up to a certain level utilizing the rule of thumb beings, such as 440, 432, that when building upon one another, stretching out the sound wave itself, it will blow out that energy, just as when you are editing an audio process and the speaker is turned up too loud, you hear that sound, and that sound is a distortion of the original sound, and it occurs because the vibrational frequency breaks down after the repetitiveness of the energy in the higher frequency. 432 is much more pure in that way, as it does not break down and distort as easily.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Let's talk about longevity for a moment. What practices can you give for humans to increase their physical lifespan here on Earth the most?
Yes, first of all, having a reason for the life process. That is the number one most essential. Once a human being believes they are no longer productive, happy, or have reasons to live forward, they will shut down the process of co-creating a longer experience. You see this in many entities, even in their younger age, who have married someone or who have loved a family member for many decades, and then in the middle of their life, after that entity leaves, within a year, within a month, they also leave their body. It is not because anything is wrong physically, it is because the will to live has decreased to such a level they disassociate their consciousness with their body. That is number one. Number two, following your intuition on how to care for your physical body. When you are eating 3 slices of large pizza filled with all sorts of things and you feel that that is not good for you, your intuition is telling you that for a reason. There are some humans who are able to eat that pizza and it not affect their physical or vibrational frequency, but those are very low numbers, and only because they have not associated great deals of beliefs and vibrational differences, etc. So following your intuition on how to guide with your body, how to care for the body, trusting that intuition is also embedded within that second step, learning how to trust yourself, learning what is intuition and what is an over-obsessive thought process or mental body. The third is utilizing pure joy in as many moments as possible. Now, ideally, if you were to stay in high joy frequency, you could live for 120 years to 150 years without ever coming into contact of death or even a probability of death. But humans are not ultimately built this way. Even those entities that you perceive as extremely happy and smiling all the time, resistance does occur within them, but they are putting on a good show. Now, if you are able to live in a vibration of joy, excitedness, and happiness, in that energy, in each moment, that will help. If not, as many moments as possible. The fourth construct is working in the now moment. Each time you look forward into your future or backwards into your past, you are taking consciousness away from that now moment. That physically breaks down and degrades the cell copying process much more quickly. The more consciousness you have, especially toned into that joy or vibration of love and excitement, the copies of those cells go in a much higher and pure form. This is why entities who are always worried about what is next or is always worried about the past start breaking down. They grow gray hairs, they have heart pressure issues or blood pressure issues, etc. The continuation process of working with elemental energy, staying in your balance of being with nature and with the common technology and common energy of the social classes, etc. Being with elemental energy also connects yourself and grounds yourself deeply into the earth energy. The earth is your mother. The earth is your parent. The earth is your bloodline. It is your heartbeat. When you are disconnected from the earth, your body withers and dies much more quickly. So be in tune with that energy of the elemental and earth itself. If you follow those, majoritively you will grow, unless you have a contractual construct before, or unless you desire to have an experience outside of your body. Averagely, over 99.9998% of all the entities who follow those very strictly and well will have greatly long lives. One more construct in working with your own sense of longevity is working at the understanding that you are not addressing what age you are, not addressing what health of those in your age around you are, the belief systems about how old humans grow to be, all of those things flushed. If you are truly engaging joy and you are truly in the moment, you are truly with all the nature and constructs in balance of what is appropriate, you will not think about those things. Even if it passes your mind, you will not fixate on those things, and it will grow in longevity. We wish to also express you. We have approximately 5 to 7 minutes remaining. Whatever questions you deem most important, you may place them in front of your question 9.
What, I know everybody's different, but what are some of the best foods that any human can have that will just help with health in general?
Yes, if you are eating the most natural, local grown energies that are around you, both in vegetables and fruit, roots, and we are not connecting to the name, herbs and roots. All of those energies of what grows naturally out of the ground vibrationally is more adjustable to your frequency. And when entities express, those that are vegan or those that are natural food enthusiasts express that they eat raw, vegan, and they eat locally. This is something that we also highly agree with. When you are eating local foods, you are bonding with that part of your localized nature. You are putting vibrations that are close to you in the grid system and in the earth within your body. You are creating an equilibrium between the two. So working from that construct, those are the best basic food processes for all humans to work with. Some entities are able to go outside of that, as you are aware, but these are the basic energies that most humans can adhere to.
Thank you.
Yes.
As quickly as you can answer this, what do I usually do while I'm in my sleep state, in my higher dimensional self?
Yes, there are multiple things, but the one that occurs most frequently is going into the third layer of dream state and creating versions of parallel Earths to go through. This is done at least in the last 1.5 years more than the rest, because it is important for you to see the other side of what could have been in your life if you would have changed certain things, or experiences that are so vastly different, post-apocalyptic worlds, failed worlds, etc., so that you may have an aspect and perspective of what is occurring now within your life. The comparison's important for you.
There's a thing I heard of called astrocartology, and basically that's saying in what location resonates best with us. Is there a location on Earth that would resonate best with me?
Yes, there are multiple places, but vibrationally, there are the southeastern portion of the area South Dakota, the area that is southeastern Ohio. There is a place within the eastern portion of Pennsylvania. There is a place southwestern Arizona, the midst of California, northwest Oregon, and in the lower Canadian region by the Toronto area. All of those places have vibrational frequencies that are very similar to your own overall energy, or are so different from your energy, it would create a good equilibrium between the two.
Thank you.
Yes, and we have time for one remaining query.
Okay. One thing that I do every month, as you may be aware of, I go on a 2 to 4 day block fast where I try to drink only water throughout the whole time just so I can cleanse out. Is this a good practice for me? I feel like it is. I tend to feel really good by about day 3. I have a lot of energy. What can you tell me about it?
Yes, we can tell you it is exceptional for you. Your intuition has shared with yourself that you feel good, that it feels good, that you are doing it, and that is because you are. By going through the water-only phase, you are literally taking out all of what is stored negatively within your cell, all of the junk that is stored inside of both the fat and sugar components of your cellular level, and you are burning through those energies. You are detoxifying that energy of your blood system, of your reproductive system, of your breathing system, muscular system, etc. All of the systems, both independently and collectively, are being cleansed. They are being saturated with water, and they are burning through the toxin processes. So all of these things are very positive and very good for you. The continuation of this process can also be beneficial for you if you do it on your regimen as you are. It will be extremely positive for your overall health. And if you are feeling positive feedback from your physical body, that is a representative of it being a positive experience. If you ever go into this fasting construct and you start feeling very negatively, and we understand initially there can be bad energies, especially if you have ingested energies that carry high amounts of toxins. But once you are over that hump, if you are feeling more negative than you have ever felt before, or more uncomfortability, then you will know that in that moment, listen to the intuition of your body. If it requires a fruit, then eat the fruit. If it requires vegetable, eat that vegetable. Whatever your body is needing, it will tell you. But in that area of cleansing, that day 3 feeling that you are feeling, that is your own body congratulating you. Just as we do when we express that your expanded consciousness is expanding yours and ours, we congratulate you and thank you. Your body is doing the same thing, congratulating you for the experience of cleansing and giving you that gratitude for keeping it healthy. The energies of this, but also many of the other cleansing processes that you've utilized, many of the other constructs where you are binding your consciousness with your physical body in dream state and through dietary supplements. All of those energies are very positive with the attunement of your physical body.
Thank you so much, Aridif.
Yes, of course. We wish to express to you that before we disconnect, there are 2 things that we wish to express. The first thing, as you are well aware, you are loved, but we also love you. Now, the second thing we wish to express, that as you've expanded in your experience, it has taught you a great deal about yourself and the external universe. And when you bump into the resistances of your experience, try to lock in the energy of understanding that what comes in your external resistances are the reflections directly of the internal. We know that you understand this. We know that you feel this energy most of the time, but there will be experiences in the upcoming years that will feel so external to you. You will not be able to lock into that mindset. You will not be able to say, this is caused by what is within my internal energy, and it is only manifesting as a projection outside to reflect that. When that time comes, reflect from that energy. Remind yourself by practicing the awareness of that in each day. We also wish to express to you, we have had a very positive and very exciting experience to have co-created with you in this evening.
Thanks, Aridif. We will talk again.
Yes, of course. We will bid you adieu for this evening. You are loved.
You too. Very good. I learned a lot.
Oh, I like that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, a lot about...
Yeah, man. That's a good long session, too, man.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
No, I didn't get all my questions answered, but he went quite in depth on a lot of them, which really cleared some up. It was well worth it.